Greetings, YouTube. Welcome back to the channel. I get asked routinely, regularly, Prof, why do you think your channel is as successful as it is? Now, there might be some of you watching this that think it's not successful, right? But just consider when I rebranded my YouTube channel to MCOC content almost 5 years ago, I had less than 50 subscribers. A lot of my videos had less than 50 views. Some had like 6 views. And because of that, oftentimes, my success was defined as 50% likes to 50% dislikes. I thought that was a good video if I got 50-50. Sometimes it'd be like 1 like and 12 dislikes. It's tough when publicly you see like that old bar that's just all red, you know? But I like to think, like me or hate me, one of the reasons why my channel has grown and people still watch is that I'm not afraid to lean into the uncomfortable. Sometimes it helps to have somebody say your thoughts or your feelings or even a different perspective that you don't agree with on a public forum that you can debate in the comments or think about than it is to just watch an echo chamber of someone that you always agree with. I always say, I don't care if it's an offer review or a video like this about a forum post or a crystal opening where I talk about a champion or a prediction. I want you to disagree with me. Hopefully not every video, but definitely a fair amount. Because I run a channel, not a cult. If you disagree with nothing I say, then it is kind of the definition of the cult. And I would learn way more from you, person watching this right now, than you can from me. I guarantee you that. With that being said, we have a post that starts out pretty uncomfortable. It's something that might be smart for me not to talk about. But because I continue to try to grow my channel by not being afraid to talk about the uncomfortable, the controversial, the potentially controversial, let's read a post from Rickroller titled Questions About Russia and Belarus. Imagine this was you. You logged in and you saw this message. Please be advised that effective immediately, we have disabled the ability for players in Russia and Belarus to make purchases in the game. We do not plan to disable your ability to play the game at this time. So essentially, we are making every player that logs in to an IP address from this country, I'm guessing, free to play. We're not forcing you not to log in, but you're free to play. Now, I got sent this by a couple people, including my man Brian Shadowstrike, who always keeps me updated with the forums, and I appreciate that, who said, oh, this must be because of Canadian sanctions. Now, I always tell my students that rarely, if ever, is a complex issue because of one thing. That could be a piece of the pie, but that's not the whole pie. I think part of it is, what is this, the third consecutive week that Russia hasn't publicly opened their stock market because they know that their currency is still in free fall? I view this more as, if we have Russia pay for the Apple Store or Google Play Store in purchases, are we sure that we're going to even get the right money for the currency we're charging them compared to everybody else? Because maybe they should be charged 100 times, but we charge everybody else because their currency is in flux. I don't know. I know that the leak talked about still some mystery champion that we've hotly debated in a video and elsewhere. Who is the champion that was too controversial to be buffed at this point with the real life, moments? Regardless of who you think that is or if you think that was a good idea or not, it's clear that companies like Kabam want to do what all other companies do that are publicly worth millions and millions of dollars, which is not tick off their player base, not appear to be unempathetic, and yes, dare I say it, to be publicly correct. With that being said, this is a fascinating update, right? This is a fascinating update. Now, there are some comments on this before Kabam shut down the post. Let's look at them. Well, I definitely don't want to get into a debate about the politics, about what's going on between Ukraine and Russia, but I have some concerns. While I understand that Kabam might not have had much choice in doing this, Since Canada has joined in sanctions against Russia, what does this mean for people who have alliance members in Russia or Belarus if Kabam decides to pull the game from those markets? And again, I want to be clear, they are not pulling the game from those markets. They're just making everybody free to play because they're not allowed to purchase anything at this point. Again, I don't want a political discussion about the invasion by Russia, but I'm curious as to what Kabam will do next if the invasion continues. Isn't this because of the extreme volatility of the currency? That's kind of my perspective. And they can still play, just not purchase. I would actually agree with that, but again, just one opinion. To me, a game is for humans to come together and have fun. It doesn't matter about who you are, what you are, where you are, and especially why you are. Well, rated S Viper, I think Kabam would agree with that, which is why they're still giving those players in those countries the opportunity to play it. I'm sure they're also hoping at some point to lift this temporary restriction and make some money from those players, because, that's still potential consumers in those markets. Calling out 123. This might also be because international bank transfers between Russia and Belarus and the West is heavily impacted by the sanctions. Kabam has no guarantee in-game purchases will come through. Now that is a fascinating discussion. Never say never, but I don't think Kabam will disable the game in those countries. I don't think either. Biggest impact will be overall alliance performance. So if you're somebody that has an alliance member in one of these places, and I'm sure we have at least a few people, maybe a lot more than that, impacted, this is still an important discussion, especially if those players are used to purchasing something to allow them to continue to, say, better play Alliance War, Alliance Quest, etc. And then a whole other issue is if apps continue to be silenced in Russia, for example, how can you even communicate with those people except maybe through the game itself, which is not as convenient as, say, Discord or Line. Here's the Kabam Mike official response. This is not a matter to discuss here, and we will not let our forums about Marvel Contest of Champions become host to any sort of political discussions. To be fair, I mean, I would agree that you don't want that to happen, but I also don't think these players were having some hot political debate or discussion. I actually was pretty impressed by the different responses. It actually gave me a little bit of hope, for the record, that this was going on. I've had to delete a great number of posts in this thread. Now, okay, maybe that's why I was impressed, because the bad ones were deleted. That's fair. We have made our reasoning and intentions clear. This sounds like a parent talking to like a teenager that's punished, right? I have made my reasoning and intentions clear, young man. You will listen to me, and you will not get your phone back for 2 weeks. And if we feel that we want to take further actions, we will. We will not be open to discussion on the matter, nor should they be. Fascinating. Again, this is not a topic that is safe to talk about, even from this perspective. But I am leaning into wanting to make a video about this and see what you think. Agree or disagree. Thanks for watching. Have a good one. Also, lastly, for the record, Kabam Mike, pretty good response to this. Certainly could have been a lot more passive-aggressive like he has been in the past, and he wasn't. So good job, Kabam Mike.